Hello, nice to have you join us on the news at 5, live from Channels Television's global headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Dominic Iwiwu with the stories and reports we're tracking at the moment. Operatives of the Nigerian police attached to the National Cybercrime Center in Abuja have arrested 3 key suspects who launched the cyber attack on Microsoft database. According to the police force spokesperson, Mr. Benjamin Hundeyin, the suspects were traced to Lagos and Benin City after the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, in the United States of America sought the help of the Nigerian police to investigate the data breach. The police says the suspects warns Nigerians and foreigners who are into such acts to desist or be ready to face the wrath of the law.
The Nigeria Police Force National Cybercrime Center, NPF-NCCC, has investigated a major international criminal case which involved computer-related fraud, phishing, identity theft, malware attacks, impersonation that were targeted at Microsoft 365 users across multiple countries. This investigation commenced following credible intelligence received from Microsoft Office USA through the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, indicating that a malicious phishing toolkit known as Raccoon 0365 was being used to create fake Microsoft login portals, harvest user credentials, and unlawfully access the email accounts of corporate organizations, financial institutions, and educational establishments. Acting on actionable intelligence, operational teams were deployed to Lagos and Edo states, resulting in the arrest of one Joshua, another James, and one Okitipi Samuel on September 20th and 4th October 2025. Will they be prosecuted here or repatriated to the US? We have our laws here. We have the Cybercrimes Act here. And if you commit an offense here, yes, we can prosecute you and you can be convicted here.
Justice Babangida Hassan of the Federal Capital Territory High Court Abuja has upheld the continued detention of a former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Justice Hassan rejected an application that sought to compel the EFCC to release the immediate past AGF from its custody. The former AGF is facing investigation over sundry accusations regarding the utilization of recovered loot, as well as his reported links to terrorist financing. His counsel, Suleiman Hassan, had approached the court seeking bail from the custody of the EFCC, arguing that his detention by the commission in its ongoing investigation was illegal. He prayed the court to enforce his fundamental human rights by directing the EFCC to release him from its custody. On its part, counsel for the EFCC, Jibrin Okutekba, countered the application even as it persuaded the court to dismiss it for want of merit. Describing itself as a law-abiding institution, the EFCC said it would not detain a suspect beyond the constitutionally allowed time frame without an order of the court. After it had listened to both sides, Justice Hassan said it found no merit in Malami's application. Staying with legal matters, Justice Miriam Hassan of the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja has ordered that the former Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, remain on administrative bail granted him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The court, however, ordered that he present a surety who is a director in federal government employment who must have a landed property. The surety is expected to deposit documents of his landed property and travel documents with the court pending when Mr. Ngige finalizes the retrieval of his own passport. The EFCC had granted Mr. Ngige bail based on self-recognition and ordered that he present his travel documents to the commission as well as one surety. The Nigeria Governors Forum has received the briefing from the Office of the National Security Advisor on heightened public safety risks and the need to strengthen interagency coordination for the protection of people and government's critical infrastructure. Addressing journalists after the meeting of the Governors Forum in Abuja, Ogun State's Governor Dakwa Abiodun says the forum recommits to the security of lives and property, especially during the festive season, which anticipates increase in travels and public gatherings. According to him, the governors also renew their commitments to sustaining in the implementation momentum for the Nigeria Community Action for Resilience and Economic Stimulus, NG Cares, which is an economic resilience program of the World Bank.
The forum received a communication from the Office of the National Security Advisor calling for heightened security preparedness across all states during the year 2025 festive season. This is due to increased population movements, large public gatherings, and heightened public safety risks. Governors are definitely committed to strengthening interagency coordination, protecting critical infrastructure, and maintaining a visible security presence in identified hotspots to ensure a safe, incident-free, festive period nationwide. The forum received notification from the World Bank confirming the effectiveness of the additional financing for the Nigeria Community Action for Resilience and Economic Stimulus Program called NG Cares. This enables continued disbursements to states to support livelihoods, food security, public works, and resilience building interventions. Governors reviewed their commitment to sustaining implementation momentum, ensuring timely reporting, and maximizing fund utilization to deliver measurable outcomes for vulnerable households.
The federal government has reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to safeguarding students and ensuring the continuity of education across the country, following the reopening of 47 unity colleges closed owing to security concerns. After the strengthening of security architecture within and around the affected schools, academic activities have fully resumed. Students have returned safely to their campuses, with many currently concluding their December academic programs, while others have successfully completed their examinations. The Federal Ministry of Education assures parents, guardians, and the general public that the safety, welfare, and well-being of students remain a top priority to the government continues to work closely with relevant security agencies to sustain stability and restore normalcy within the school environments nationwide. The federal government remains resolute in its responsibility to protect every Nigerian child and to uphold their fundamental rights to education in safe and secure environments. Nigeria and Burkina Faso have resolved the issue concerning the detention of Nigerian Air Force pilots and crew in the Francophone country. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tuga, disclosed this in a statement, adding that the Nigerian Air Force personnel will return to Nigeria soon. This followed a visit by a federal government delegation led by Ambassador Tuga to the leader of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. The resolution followed a constructive engagement between the two governments, reinforcing confidence and highlighting the effectiveness of dialogue in addressing sensitive matters. According to a statement by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the delegation dispatched by President Bola Tinubu delivered a message of solidarity and fraternity to Captain Traoré. Both sides considered avenues for deepening bilateral relations and strengthening integration within the ECOWAS regional bloc. The leaders of Ogwa Kingdom in Bayelsa State, kingsmen of former President Goodluck Jonathan, have thrown their weight behind President Bola Tinubu's presidency in 2027. They stated this when they paid a visit to the president at the State House Abuja to appreciate him for appointing their sons and daughters into his administration and also appeal for more interventions of the federal government. President Tinubu, who laments the neglect of the Niger Delta region by past governments, pledged more infrastructure in the region as he said his administration is addressing security challenges in the country. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
The leaders of Ogba Kingdom in Bayelsa and River States, led by the Ogbanaba III of Ogba Kingdom, King Charles Owaba, are visiting the presidential villa for the first time since President Bola Tinubu assumed office. According to them, they are in the villa to appreciate the president for appointing their sons and daughters to various offices, as well as ensuring inclusive governance. However, they also make a few demands as they throw their weight behind the president for the 2027 race.
It is a firm belief that Mr. President has done us well, and as such, we cannot help but to reciprocate a kind gesture by inviting Mr. President to contest the next presidential election, taking for granted the full support of the Ogba Kingdom. Mr. President, we are solidly behind you. The Ogba Kingdom is behind you. The traditional head of the kingdom is here to give you that blessing.
Describing the Niger Delta region as the goose that laid the golden egg, President Tinubu commends the contribution of the people to national development as he reiterates his government's determination to ensure inclusive leadership and address infrastructural deficits.
You mentioned the erosion. We will look into that. We will tame it. They didn't ask for too much on the bridge that is an infrastructure that elicits the economy and progress and development of the area. We'll see to that.
He also assures of winning the fight against insecurity in the country.
Men and women of armed forces are fighting very hard to bring peace and stability to the country. And I can guarantee you, we will win over terrorism.
Nigeria first discovered oil in commercial quantity in Oloibiri, which is located in Ogba Kingdom. It is also the hometown of former President Goodluck Jonathan. From the presidential villa, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
A total of 250 senior citizens drawn from the 27 local government areas of Imo State have benefited from the third edition of the Renewed Hope Initiative Elderly Support Scheme, championed by the wife of the President, Mrs. Oluremi Tinubu. The program was unveiled at the Government House Chapel Arena in Owerri, the Imo State capital, where Mrs. Tinubu, represented by the wife of the Imo State Governor, Chioma Uzodimma, says the initiative is designed to enhance the welfare of senior citizens and provide social support for vulnerable elderly persons across the country.
Elderly men and women gather in large numbers at the Government House Chapel Arena in Owerri, the Imo State capital, to witness the rollout of the Renewed Hope Initiative Elderly Support Scheme, a program aimed at promoting dignity in old age. The initiative, driven by the Office of the First Lady Oluremi Tinubu, forms part of the federal government's broader social investment programs under the Renewed Hope agenda. Speaking on the theme, Finding Joy in Old Age, representative of the First Lady, Mrs. Chioma Uzodimma, explains that 250 vulnerable elderly persons aged 65 years and above will benefit in each state of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. Other beneficiaries are drawn from the Defense and Police Officers' Wives Association.
As we approach the festive season, it is crucial to emphasize the importance of prioritizing our elderly citizens in our initiatives. They have walked difficult paths so that the younger generations may have smoother roads to travel. It is therefore our moral duty and indeed our joy to ensure that they live their twilight years in comfort, good health and dignity.
She presents cash grants of 200,000 naira each to the selected beneficiaries in Imo State.
so glad. I'm so happy. I thank God for the First Lady of Federal Republic of Nigeria and our First Lady here, Barrister Chioma Ozodimma, who deemed it necessary that the elders need to celebrate the Christmas celebration. So we are happy and we thank God that it continues in this way.
Nationwide, the program is expected to benefit 9,500 senior citizens with a total disbursement of 1.9 billion naira each. The Renewed Hope Initiative Elderly Support Scheme underscores the federal government's commitment to inclusive governance and social protection, particularly for the elderly. Ejitopo Kuteyi, Channels Television News.
The Minister for Science and Technology, Mr. Kingsley Ude, says the presidential assent to the Local Content Act will open up the science and technology space to rapid innovations by removing the bottlenecks and curbing the needed investments in the sector. Mr. Ude, who spoke at a stakeholders forum that brought together private sector players, civil society organizations, and the media in Abuja, assured Nigerians that the minister will partner with all critical sectors to re-energize incubation centers across the country, as well as the commercialization of patent intellectual properties that are critical to national development.
So, Kunle, you talk about what that therefore translates to is that we cannot just allow the mining of coal, for example, mining, or even certain crops like cash crops, like cocoa, and then just send the raw materials out of Nigeria without first adding value. Now, of course, this what it does is that it translates into enlargement of industrial capacity across the different raw materials, across the various value chain. And this bill that haven't been passed has gone to the president for assent. Now, it also recognizes that you can't talk about insisting on 30% value addition without setting up certain other structure, infrastructure enablers. You can't just wake up and say you must add 30% value before you export. And that law also has put in place strategies and structures that will ensure that 30% value addition that has been mandated would be achieved. Of course, the law gives a time or a moratorium to enable stakeholders to build capacity to add that, ensure that 30% value is added to every of our raw materials.
The federal government says it is making steady progress on several road and bridge projects across the country and has assured Nigerians that all ongoing projects will be completed. The update was given by the Minister of Works, Mr. David Umahi, who was accompanied by the Minister of State, Mr. Bello Goronyo, during an end-of-the-year press briefing in Abuja. The minister said major highways, bridges and bypass roads are currently at different stages of construction across all 6 geopolitical zones of the country. They acknowledged challenges including funding pressures, security concerns and weather conditions, but emphasized that work is continuing unabated.
Let me also announce that, by the directive of the president, we have written to EFCC and ICPC, and we've given them all the projects from 2023, as awarded, that they should go around the entire site and verify it. And I think ICPC have just concluded theirs. And I'm very happy for that because there's nothing to hide. And that gives, credibility, to the administration of Mr. President. That there's no sacred cow and there is nothing to hide. So if you have any petition about any of our projects, please write to ICPC or EFCC because most of them have been on site and they will be able to figure out what you are destined. For people that are saying, look, why are you doing these legacy projects? Let me tell you something. When a nation is in crisis, you have to do everything to bring external funds into the system. And that is the wisdom of what the president is doing, these 4 legacy projects. We are putting just 30%. then there is international funding of 70%. And there is return on investment, and it's very high.
In the world of business, the House of Representatives has approved the 2026 to 2028 MTEF FSP. The following parameters were approved. The projected crude oil benchmark prices are $64.85, $64.30, and $65.50 per barrel for 2026, 2027, and 2028, respectively. The projected exchange rate stands at 1,512 naira, 1,432 naira 15 kobo, and 1,383 naira 18 kobo for 2026, 2027, and 2028. The projection for domestic crude oil production for 2026, 2027, and 2028 are 1.84 million barrels per day, 1.88 million barrels per day, and 1.92 million barrels per day. Inflation rates projections are 16.5%, 13%, and 9% for 2026, 2027, and 2028. The real GDP growth rate is projected at 4.68%, 5.96%, and 7.9% for years 2026, 2027, and 2028, respectively. Now, the Bank of England has voted narrowly to cut interest rates in its last monetary policy move of 2025. The central bank's 9-member monetary policy committee today voted 5-4 to trim the benchmark interest rates by 25 basis points to 3.75%, marking the fourth cut of the year. Economists had widely expected the rate trim, which comes at a time of lackluster economic data, softening labor market, and a recent decline in inflation that outpaced expectations. Meanwhile, the MPC, in a statement, says that while inflation remains above target, it is now expected to fall back towards target more quickly in the near term. However, it cautions that the extent of further easing in monetary policy will depend on the evolution of the outlook for inflation. The European Central Bank, ECB, has kept its interest rates on hold today at ranges of between 2% and 2.4%, as widely expected by markets. Ahead of the vote, investors were more interested in any commentary on their apparent growing tensions inside the Governing Council, with some members like Isabel Schnabel openly endorsing the market's view that the next rate move will be a hike, while others think there is still room to cut. Investors are assessing the last interest rate decisions of 2025, with 4 of Europe's central banks announcing their monetary policies and macroeconomic outlooks on Thursday. Meanwhile, the ECB has hiked its growth outlook for the Eurozone, predicting growth of up to 1.4% in 2025 and 1.2% in 2026. Still with interest rate matters, Japan's central bank has kicked off its last policy meeting of the year, with expectations that it will raise benchmark interest rates to their highest in 30 years. This comes as the BOJ seeks to move ahead with policy normalization set forth last year. The decision, due Friday, could see rates raised to 0.75%, highest since 1995, with data from LSEG showing an 86.4% probability of a hike by the Bank of Japan. A rate hike will likely strengthen the yen against the dollar and contain inflation, which has run above the BOJ's target for 43 straight months. However, analysts say that this could further slow a weak Japanese economy that contracted in the third quarter. And that's it on the news at 5. I'm Dominic Iwiwu. Up next is The World Today. Enjoy the rest of your evening.